C, state certified fire extinguishers shall be within 100 feet of each pump. Storage tank fill pipe openings and lubrication service room area per the code. I won't read the whole code. It also speaks to the scope of work of all of the safety measures and countermeasures that include installing the tanks at the right height below ground, the amount of gravel that is required below the tanks is listed there. It speaks to the submersible pumps that are a factor of that extinguisher system. There are submersible pumps below ground, below the tanks that go to that in a closed system. It speaks to a automatic shutoff, which was going to be at the dock if the attendant, the MarineMax employee, was out there fueling and there was a concern or a spillage. There's an automatic, it's actually electrostatic switch, almost similar to you see at some gas stations. And then there's also manual shutoff valves or Seacox.
So if there was like a health event or something with the employee and he, say, passed out, the fuel would stop. Because you're not gonna, it's not gonna be like at a gas station where you're gonna have the lock thing where you can lock it in and just let it run free. This is a handheld pump that has to be handheld to work. It's not something that automatically just fuels.
It's a big old plate that's regulated with the emergency shutoff button. It's pretty
Okay.
straightforward.
Okay.
And there'll be several people trained.
Yes. Yeah, we've got close to 70 employees on site.
Just out of curiosity, we talk about a blurble of a spill and we talk about a spill. When is it a spill? I've been around marinas for 20 years, and I know there's a lot of boaters here, and everybody's seen someone drizzle some gas in the water. Or you wake up one morning and someone's tank is split and there's this huge oil sheen on the water. What do y'all consider a spill?
Great question. I don't know that I could speak to the specific milliliters or cups or ounces or gallons that specifically regards to a spill. They are going to use what are called, similar to the diapers, there's a donut paper towel fill that goes in. It's pretty common with boats that don't get as used as often as we'd like, or we know, that gets airlocked and you get an air vent in the system. What ends up happening is we start pumping gas, air pocket decides to come up, it burps, you get what is probably around a cup, maybe a half a cup of fluid that burps back out. Some of it goes on the deck, some of it goes around the fuel, some of it may go off the side into the water. I wouldn't consider that burp and vent a spill. A spill in my consideration would be somebody putting it in the rod holder, speaking to the FWC officer, pumping into the bilge, pumping into the boat, or maybe dropping a whole 5-gallon container into the water. The intentions of all this is the alternative for us to be that fuel station is to not allow that to occur and have control over the people that are doing that.
Okay. All right. Anyone else have any questions?
Yeah, I got a quick question. 10,000 gallon tank, 6,000 regular, 4,000 diesel. How often is that going to need to be refilled with an outside tanker truck?
I couldn't speak explicitly.
How many gallons are you pumping now with your current truck system?
I would state with right now with the amount that we use with service customers coming in and out, and sales boats do ride up dry. The sales boat, if we're selling a new 32-foot Sea Ray, it shows up empty. That boat carries roughly 200 gallons to 320 gallons of gas. That fuel tanker coming on site now brings around 500 to 1,000 gallons at a time. We're going to fill 500 to 1,000 gallons per trip. That truck itself, I believe, is a 3,000 gallon truck. I would argue that it was probably less than twice a month because once you fill the tanks with the amount of influx we have of the boats that are already there, the new boats that are coming out of the facility are anywhere from 7 to 11 units per month. And those boats are going to leave if you bought a new boat from us with a full tank of gas.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Nobody else? Thank you. Okay. Yes, yes.
I just want to make a comment on, you're talking about the congestion of the boat traffic. Rick and I have traveled the Great Loop, and I don't know if any of you know the Great Loop, but went all the way up into Canada and back. We took 9 months. We went into all marinas, we got gas, and there was never, and even we go down to St. Pete, we stay overnight sometimes at the marina just so we can go downtown. We've gotten gas there. There might be 1 or 2 boats ahead of us. And all that 9 months that we traveled, there was not the congestion, and I think people think that is, but just my life experience of traveling that far, you would have thought if there was going to be traffic, I would have seen it in 9 months, and I didn't, because we never had a problem. It never held us up from going anywhere. That's all I have to say.
Okay, thank you. I'd like to just speak on on one of the very first things that came up tonight, and that was the discussion about MarineMax customers and residents of South Pasadena.
Yeah.
So, I would like to make that a stipulation for approval, that it would be for MarineMax customers and someone that could show, I guess, proof that they live in the city, driver's license. That's pretty easy to do. A electric bill, whatever, I don't know what a deal coming, but I think as part of the approval, that we can add something that says that they would have to provide us with a plan that shows how they were going to ensure that the fuel sales were for our residents and the people in their facility only, prior to any type of a permit approval for construction to begin. Because I can see approving the special exception possibly. I don't know what everybody else here is thinking, but I would like to make sure there was a requirement that they show us how they're going to do this and how they're going to restrict it to our area. So we don't have boaters coming in from everywhere. That I don't think really will happen, but just to ease people's minds, so.
If you don't mind me speaking on that particular
Yes.
issue, because there's actually that and another issue I did want to take a chance to speak on. So I'm very comfortable that if the applicant would accept that part of the condition, that we could limit it only to MarineMax customers. What I have a bit of concern about limiting it to South Pasadena residents is I don't know, as I sit here, whether or not there's either federal or state law, and I say this because there's some laws out there in the world, and I know they exist for interstate highways, and I don't know if they exist, without researching it, for waterways, that you can't restrict those types of sales to where you live. I just don't know the answer to that. I'm not saying you can't do it. I'm saying I can't sit here and tell you that that is a legally enforceable requirement. I would agree with you that if you were going to limit it, you can't just pick a neighborhood. You got to limit it at least to some extent. But that's my only concern about telling you that that's an acceptable condition, and I don't know if the applicant has an answer to that. I just don't know as I sit here. The second part of this, and this is something that I was thinking through as we were talking, that what is within the plans and what has been described is no self-service. I would be more comfortable if there was a specific condition that prohibited the MarineMax from or whoever in the future, because you never know, from having this gas to be anything used as self-service, that it always has to be utilized by an employee. But we might want to have that. So those are the two conditions I'm comfortable with. I just don't have enough information as I sit here to know if you can limit it to South Pasadena residents.
Right, now, and I agree. It was brought up that they would make sure it was in their leases. I don't know if we can set a deadline on when new leases need to be signed to ensure that no one will be self-fueling within the facility.
We can make that a condition of the permit, and this special exception, I'm completely comfortable that's a legally enforceable condition.
And I would not want to say just anybody that docks at MarineMax. That's just, again, that brings back my fairness of the people in the local area to be able to get fuel. So it means I got to rent from them in order for me to get fuel without having to drive, use my boat and use up most of my gas, going to get gas, and then come back for the next morning using up most of my gas. I just don't see that.
I mean, I feel
So-
comfortable with the idea that we could enforce a condition that limits it only to South Pasadena residents, because there's ways that can be proven, and there's ways to enforce that if we find out that's not accurate. I just can't sit here and tell you from a legal perspective whether or not we can limit this use in that manner, and I don't know if
But also, I mean, I know that there's a lot of people that live right there on Seagull. There probably are people there that would like to gas up their boat. So would you want to restrict them from being able to do that? That's where it gets a little,
It gets
Yeah, I don't-
murky. I'm not gonna suggest to you that it doesn't. I'm saying that from a legal perspective and an enforcement perspective. I feel that I can craft an enforceable condition that limits it only to Marine Max customers and residents of the city of South Pasadena. They can show that, and that can be evidence. What I can't sit here and tell you is that we have the legal authority to limit it to only our residents. That is the only issue that I have.
But you can research that and find out.
I can, but the problem is I won't have that answer for you tonight.
Right, right.
So-
But you can make that cognizant on when the
I
permits
would-
are.
And honestly, you make a good point with that, even though we do have some people from Seagull Drive that are against it, there are some that are for it. And why punish them if this were to go through? So, yeah, as far as limiting to just our specific area, I don't know how everybody else really feels, but I think that might be just a little far-fetched. It might have been a nice little something to say and think about, but I do believe that denying people to be able to fill their own boats is a plus.
Absolutely.
I do have a question about their hours of operation. What is to say they've provided us with these hours of operation and then they change them in the future? Can that be something that these hours can't change?
They would not be able to change without seeking an amendment to the special exception
Okay,
or reapplying for a new.
because
special
whatever's in the
exception.
special exception,
That's correct, and that would be an
Part of it.
enforceable condition, the hours of operation. And if I could just make this statement again so this is clear for the record, I am recommending that if you decide to approve this, or to recommend approval, that there is a condition placed upon that no self-service fueling will be allowed on site. All fueling of marine vehicles shall be operated by properly trained employees of the facility.
and then,
I just, it's within the materials, I just feel that's a very significant part of what was considered today, and I would make the request and want to know if the applicant has a problem with that, that is a specified condition, not just within the documents that are attached.
right, and then, and would there be like, that this must be in effect by the time the pump is operational? Is that what you're thinking?
That can be added, I think that's appropriate.
I mean, because up until that point, we can't say the people in there can't fuel their boats.
Oh, yeah, no, it would be.
Yeah,
it
yeah.
would- it
I
would
mean, they got to be able to get fuel, and they're already used to getting it there, and I wouldn't want to take away that service from the business.
Agreed, and we can add that.
Right, once it's operational and it's been turned on, ready to go, that's the last day anybody can fuel their own boat.
But I think it would be appropriate to hear from the applicant on those
Yeah,
considerations.
yeah. Okay, please.
Thank you again, Mr. Mayor, City Attorney. We are agreeable to the conditions as outlined by the City Attorney. I do not know off the top of my head whether there are applicable federal laws or other laws that don't allow discrimination based on boat fuel. I don't know the answer to that. So if y'all want to abandon that for now, that's fine, and just stick with the self-service only and the hours of operation, that's fine. If you want to try to craft something and make it contingent on it being valid legally based on all applicable laws, we'd probably be fine with that too, but I don't know if that's something you want to open the can of worms with, so.
Right, right.
I don't like that.
I'm not
I mean,
comfortable.
I boat all over Boca Ciega Bay, and I've never seen a line at a gas pump yet.
No, I haven't.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I'm not concerned about that. I think Marine Max has done a great job of addressing all the risk inherent with fueling, and in fact, it seems to be mitigated extremely well with the underground tanks, so.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, you know, and I got to consider, just looking at the picture they provided, not including, if you took a picture of all of Boca Ciega Bay, the number of boat slips that are out there and the people that do sell fuel that are not part of this marina. And even let's say they spilt 8 ounces at a time, maybe once a week. I mean, that could add up to thousands and thousands of gallons right there. I mean, they're everywhere. I tried to count them one time. I could not get through them all by looking at a Google map. But just to see how many boats were out there in that area. So it's not a significant, the biggest problem, like you said, is people spilling their own. So at this point, I would think we stick with the stipulation that the fueling will stop as our attorney has recommended and mentioned. I do know that I was one of the people that were here in 2019 when this was reviewed, and I was for it at that time, and I really expected MarineMax to come back like in 2 months with a new application and say, hey, we answered these questions for you. That took you a few years, there was COVID in between, of course. And for me, you have answered the concerns that I had as far as the issues we had at that time. So I guess at this point, unless another commissioner has anything else to say,
It was a different application, and
yeah, we've
I
got
was here as well.
we've got times
and I
now.
voted against it because I felt that the issues that we had concern were not appropriately met. So
Yep.
I think you've done a pretty good job of putting it back together.
Okay, I guess at this point, I'm going to ask if there's any closing statements from Louis Cerna. No, there are not. Thank you, Louis. All right. Are there any closing statements from the applicant at this point?
Nothing further, sir.
All right, so at this time, I'm going to close the public hearing for this item. Is there any discussion amongst the commission? You guys are good? All right, so I'm going to ask now for a motion to recommend either approval or denial of the application for special exception from Gulfport Marina LLC for 6810 Gulfport Boulevard South, South Pasadena, Florida. And this is for approval or denial of the application.
I make a
A
motion,
recommendation of approval.
Recommendation.
I make a motion.
Recommend of approval.
You recommend approval.
And
okay?
including the condition that I just stated on the record.
Including, yes, the condition. And we have a second? Okay, now is there any further discussion that this has come up? None. All right, Carly, if you can call the vote.
Thompson,
Yes.
Reed,
Yes.
Nidinger,
Yes.
Thomas,
Yes.
Penny.
Yes. All right, with no further business on the agenda for this meeting, I adjourn the special commission meeting.
Yeah, I know. Thank you. Passing me love notes.
If you've ever sat around on a dock for a while, and watched all those little gifts, poor guests, the boat was slobbering and all.
Regular agenda.
I was one of them little givers.
I know.
Go. This,
I didn't mean to get personal.
Yeah, that's right.
we're gonna have to get with.
Darn, darn, darn.
If I go again, I can come back to you. I knew you had been,
I just do what's best.
Sorry, we have another meeting we're about to start, so if y'all would like to talk, if you could exit chambers. If you're staying for the next one, feel free, but if you are gonna be talking, we ask that you step out of the room. Continue
We got
on.
an hour to get this last meeting.
What happened to the?
All right, we're going to go ahead and call the regular commission meeting to order. Oh. Got too much paperwork up here tonight. All right. All right, well, thank you to those who stuck around for the next meeting. And we're going to open the meeting with an invocation followed by the Pledge of Allegiance, please. Everyone stand. Dear Lord, we are thankful for this day that you have given us, for its blessings, its opportunities, and its challenges. May we appreciate and use each day that comes to us. We pray for strength and guidance for each day as it comes, for each day's duties, for each day's problems. May we be challenged to give our best always, and may we be assured of your presence with us. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Don't call on me, I'm gonna get my.
Call the roll, please.
Nidinger,
here.
Thomas, Thompson, Reed,
Here.
Penny.
Here.
Don't call on me first.
Oh, come on. Okay. All right, we're going to go start with our commission reports. Tim. All right, we'll start with community improvement. And Ben Thomas, please.
Thank you, Mayor. This is the June Committee Improvement Report for June of this year. We have completed the configuration review for Tyler Intergov. They are building the test environment so that we can then begin testing prior to our go live in August. HCA Florida Pasadena Hospital has applied for a $1.5 million project for a multi-room interior renovation. The plans are currently in review. We are working with Forerunner, a company which provides a dedicated tool for flood plan management workflows. This program will help our community gain more credits in the CRS program, give the community easy access to floodplain data, and help reduce flood insurance premiums for the residents. Plans for Scooter's Coffee at 980 Pasadena Avenue have been approved, and they have been notified. We are waiting on a copy of the cost proposal so that the permit can be paid for and issued. Brielle attended the Florida Association of Business Tax Officials Conference and has earned a certification as a certified business tax official. Terry is attending the Building Officials Association of Florida Conference this week in Orlando. And Brianna transitioned from administration to finance and community improvement department. And that is my report, Mayor.
Thank you very much. We'll go to Public Works with Commissioner Gail Neidinger.
Okay. Public Works will be trimming palm trees on Pasadena Avenue for the next couple of weeks on Mondays and Wednesdays, so be aware and drive safely. We've also just installed the summertime plants on Quarry Causeway around the mural on Pasadena Avenue and at Shore Drive entrance. We've also installed hurricane storm surge signs at Bayview Park, Shore Drive South in the median at Dolphin View Nursing Home, on the flagpole at Raleigh and Oleander Way South and Gulfport Boulevard. This should be a reality check for the next storm heading our way. When you see that 5 up there, it's pretty scary. I'm scared at 3, so I don't want to think about 5. So there'll be other signs for Oleander Way coming soon. And be aware that while you're driving in the work zones, as a Duke Energy contractor continues to replace power poles, so you want to make sure you're safe. Hibiscus Hall is open for rentals. The dates are filling up so fast, so please contact Public Works for any inquiries about that. And remember, hurricane season is here, so make sure you have your plans in case we have to have a hurricane. Thanks.
Thank you. Now we'll go with Finance and Commissioner Linda Thompson.
Finance has currently collected $3,807,598 in ad valorem taxes for fiscal year 2023, approximately 96.46% of our budgeted amount. Finance is finalizing the city's insurance policies, including cyber liability, flood, workspace safety, and firefighter cancer and accident coverage. The fiscal year 2022 annual firefighters pension report has been filed with the state. The firefighter benefit portal created by Foster & Foster has been reconciled and is current with the last 10 years of historical data. New payroll information is generated and uploaded each biweekly payroll cycle. All quarterly and monthly reports required by the state and federal have been filed through May 31st. Finance is working with Community Improvement to implement the online portal and credit card processing feature. Finance is concentrating on finalizing the fiscal year 2022 financials with our auditors and the fiscal year 2024 annual budget presentation. And that completes my report, Mayor.
Thank you very much, Linda. And we'll go with Vice Mayor Tom Reed for Public Safety.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, everybody. Remember, hurricane season started June 1st, so now is the time to prepare. This year's theme is Ready, Set, Protect. Ready means we are at risk. Once Pinellas County is in the cone of uncertainty, there is a risk that we will be impacted by a storm. This can be in the next 3 to 5 days. Set The threat is real. As the storm moves closer and Pinellas County is forecast to have impacts, it is time to get set. Evacuation orders could range from 17 to 50 hours before impact. Protect. The impacts are here. As conditions become unsafe, you will need to shelter in place. It's not safe to move around during and immediately after the storm. For more information on hurricane preparedness in our city, please contact the South Pasadena Fire Department at 727-344-1666. And as Commissioner Nidinger referenced, please pay attention and take a look at these new realistic storm surge polls throughout the city for your really realistic consequences of ignoring your evacuation order like yours truly did last year. Not so sure I'd do it again. So that concludes my report. Thank you.
Thank you, Tom. And I'll provide a report for administration. So the City Commission and staff started the annual budget process at the beginning of the month. Additional workshops are being held throughout June to review the proposed budget for fiscal year 2024. Be sure to check the city website at mysouthpasadena.com for information about the budget schedule and hearings. Design proposals for the city's dolphin statue will soon be posted to our Facebook page for the public to vote on. Designs were solicited from artists experienced with the Dolphin Trail program. Statutes and 2 options have been selected by the commission for you to help choose from. So like and follow the city's Facebook page at www.facebook.com/City of South Pasadena FL and watch for the designs to be posted. That's where the voting will take place, on our Facebook page. City offices will be closed on Tuesday, July 4th, 2023, in observance of Independence Day. And that is my report for the evening. We will move on to the next portion of the budget, of the meeting. Go to the People's Forum. So at this time, we're going to open the People's Forum. This is the portion of the meeting when the public can speak on anything that is not on the agenda. Is there anyone in attendance that wishes to speak for the People's Forum? Okay, seeing none, I'm going to close the People's Forum. We'll move on to agenda comment, and we'll now accept agenda comment. This is the portion of the meeting that the public can speak on anything that is on the agenda that is not a public hearing. Okay, seeing no one, I'm going to close the agenda comment portion. We'll move on to the public hearing, which is quasi-judicial. So at this time, I open the public hearing and ask the city attorney and city clerk to speak regarding the hearing process.
At this time, you have 3 public hearings in your quasi-judicial proceedings. I would ask the commission to disclose any ex parte communication, and the participants, I am informing you about the record of the hearing as follows. All evidence admitted at these hearings will be kept by the clerk to remain as part of the record. In accordance with Florida statutes, you are hereby notified that if a person decides to appeal any decision made by this board at these hearings, he or she will need a record of the proceedings, and that for such purpose, he or she may need to ensure that a verbatim record of the proceeding is made, which record includes testimony and evidence upon which the appeal is to be based.
I'll go ahead and administer the oath of testimony again for this meeting. If you are planning to speak, please stand and raise your right hand. When I'm finished speaking, respond appropriately. Do you solemnly swear or affirm that you will tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? If so, please respond, I do.
I do. All right. So item 1, consideration for an application for variance. I will now open the public hearing and ask the city attorney to introduce item 1.
The City Commission, acting as the Planning and Zoning Board of the city, has just concluded its public hearing to consider the application for variance from Jeffrey Lemego Morrison Associates LLC for 1198 Pasadena Avenue South, South Pasadena, Florida 33707. After consideration of the evidence and public comment, they have recommended approval of the application for the variance. The hearing of the commission is held to consider the recommendation and any further evidence or testimony from interested parties to either approve or deny the application. Since you did just hold this hearing, it would be appropriate for you to just go ahead and ask for all of the, to take action, to have all of the evidence and testimony from the planning and zoning meeting put into the record of the meeting for you sitting as the city commission, unless the applicant has any objection to that particular process.
Any objection? No objection. Okay.
So thank you. Before you move into the public hearing, part of this hearing, I would just ask for a motion to take all the evidence and testimony that was submitted as part of the planning and zoning variance proceeding as part of the record today.
I'll make that motion.
I second it.
Is there any discussion? Okay, we'll call the vote.
Neidinger,
Yes.
Thomas,
Yes.
Thompson,
Yes.
Reed,
Yes.
Penny.
Yes. Okay. So now, in light of the city attorney's recommendation, we now move into the process. Those wishing to speak in favor of the application are now invited to speak. No? All right. Those wishing to speak against the application are now invited to speak.
Marge Laurent, Corey Way South, South Pasadena. I'll make this short and sweet because it's really late. I just want to, before you vote, I just want to reiterate to you that that piece of, that property can be used for many other things other than an auto service facility. The things that the permit requires variances for, and it is 3. It does require 3 because it doesn't meet in 3 different places, the code. Those are only for an auto service facility. A restaurant could go there, another building could go there. An auto service facility cannot. And you can make it as attractive as you want, and that is a much more attractive building that you suggested. But the bay doors will still be open. The work still will be viewable from, say, sitting across the street at the restaurant, walking down the street, driving down the street. It is the face of our community. And in my estimation, and in the estimation of the people that signed this petition, which I will hand to Carly, 48 people, not a huge amount, but 48 people who are saying to you, we don't want this in the middle of our city. We are going to spend all of this money on these beautiful murals all over the city, and then we're going to have an oil change facility in the middle of the city. It does not make sense. You're taking money from one side and throwing it away. I'm really very adamant about this. And
Can I just respond to her? Or? Oh, okay, finish. I'm sorry.
yeah, it will increase traffic. But what concerns me more is that if the business doesn't make it, and I believe Commissioner Reed made this point in the last hearing, 30 to 35 cars, can it make it? There are 3 oil change facilities within a mile. If the business doesn't make it, nothing else can go there. It can only be an auto service facility because that's the kind of building it is. If you put something else there, it doesn't go, and it would not make it, you could use it for something else. But you cannot use an auto service facility for anything but auto services. That is all I have to say.
Okay, let me just say, just for the record, that property's been vacant for over 15 years.
Understand.
It is not up to us to determine what goes in there. Nobody has come to us before and said that they wanted to put anything in that property. It was a mess for a long time
Ma'am.
until we got them to put grass there. And the other thing is, if they don't make it, somebody will tear that building down and they'll ask us to do this again for another kind of a business. So I get your point. I understand that people are unhappy about it.
Yeah.
But, you know, I like it better than an empty lot, and I like the fact that we're gonna get taxes.
And this is a good point, and you make a good point. May I make another suggestion? What about what about the city purchasing that property and making that into a park and ride and adding electric vehicle charging stations, okay? We could, as a city, perhaps purchase that property and use it for that. I understand what you're saying, but my point is, there are a lot of people who do not want this type of a business. I understand the property's been vacant for a long time. That doesn't make it okay to put that kind of a facility in the middle of our city. It just is not, people do not want it. Okay, thank you. I appreciate you listening.
Okay. Is there anyone else who wishes to speak against the application? Okay. Seeing none. The applicant may now speak in for rebuttal, if you wish. Okay. Are there any closing statements from staff? No. Oh, and I assume no closing statements from the applicant. Okay. So at this time, I'll close the public hearing for this item. Is there any discussion amongst the commission at this time?
Well, I do agree that, you know, it's not the proper thing to put there because the beautification of our city. And I think we will get more tax money by people coming through. We're the gateway to the beaches, and the tourists come through and they say, this is a cute town. I think I'll come back, especially since they see the murals. And just putting something in there, maybe that will not even attract anybody coming through. That'll be less money. But I just don't feel that that type of business should be right there. If you go on Corey Avenue, it is busy all the time. They have the cutest little things there, and I say to myself, I wish we could be like that, you know, have cute places or things that people are more restaurants. Just put something there just as a filler. I don't go for it just as a filler just because it's been sitting there. That's my opinion.
And I understand where you're coming from. When I look at it, as another business in our city. As you say, we're kind of a pass-through to the beach. So people drive through our city and go to the beach. This might detract some of them from heading straight to the beach, stopping for their quick oil change, say, hey, look, there's a pizza place next door, there's a Dunkin' Donuts over here, oh, look, there's a mall over here with a number of shopping places we can go to. Once we get done here, let's run over here and grab something. It might stop them long enough to look around. Oh, look, right across the street is the Horse and Jockey British restaurant. I just see that maybe this will stop them long enough to look at what else is in the town besides, oh, there's South Pasadena, or I don't know what that was we just passed through, but we're heading to the beach. I don't know. I guess we'll find out who's right or wrong and how things work out after the vote for this evening. But, you know, it's just, I talk to a lot of people. You know, I put it out there, and I talked to, like I said, over 400 people in my community, and this is what I got out of it, that they just didn't like the appearance of it. They didn't care about the business. They would probably use it, but they didn't want it to look like a cookie cutter type place, and they've agreed to make that change. So I'm voting on behalf of most of the people I spoke to when it comes to this tonight. So does anyone else have anything else they wish to add before we move on? Okay. Seeing none, I'm going to call for a motion to either approve or deny the application for variance from Jeffrey Lamago Morrison Associates LLC from 1198 Pasadena Avenue South, South Pasadena, Florida, 33707.
I make a motion to deny.
Okay, there a second? Okay, hearing none, the motion fails. Is there a motion for approval?
I make the motion to approve.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, is there any discussion?
Yeah, I'd just like to say that, you know, I was very sincere in my opposition to this during the process earlier, but the commission has spoken, and so now it's time to welcome this new business to our city and get the best look of it and best feel for it that we can get for our streetscape. So in that respect, I will be voting for it at this point.
Anyone else? All right, Carly, can you call the vote?
Thomas,
Yes.
Thompson,
No.
Reed,
Yes.
Nidinger,
Yes.
Penny.
Yes. All right, we will move on to item number 2. This is consideration for an application for special exception. At this time, I'll open the public hearing and ask the city attorney to introduce item 2.
The City Commission, acting as the Planning and Zoning Board, considered the application for special exception from Jeffrey Lamago. I'm getting tongue-tied. Morris and Associates LLC for 1198 Pasadena Avenue South, South Pasadena, Florida 33707. After review of the evidence and public comment, they have recommended approval with conditions, and I want to make sure that if you do proceed forward, that it includes those conditions of the application for special exception. This hearing of the City Commission is held to consider the recommendation and further evidence and testimony from interested parties to either approve or deny the application. And just like the previous one, sorry, I'm starting to run out of gas here. I just got back to Tampa at 3 a.m. last night, so I'm gonna power through. As I said in the variance hearing, and I will also say again in the hearing after this, since you already had a full hearing on this, if you want to just go ahead and make a motion to take all the evidence and testimony at the previous Planning and Zoning Board meeting into the record of this proceeding, that would be acceptable at this time. So you make a motion to move the evidence into the record for this hearing.
Do I have
Yes,
a motion?
I'll move it. I'll second it.
Wait.
Did you move?
No, I'm asking if I have a motion.
I'll make a motion as
Whatever you
requested by
said.
our attorney. You already got it.
That's recommended.
I got a
Yeah, whatever you said.
Yes.
Second from her.
Second from me.
Okay, is there any discussion? All right, call the vote, please.
Thompson,
No.
Reed,
Yes.
Nidinger,
Yes.
Thomas,
Yes.
Penny.
Yes.
Okay, now we need, that was not to approve it, that was just to move all the evidence.
Right, move all the evidence into the record.
Go back through everything.
Oh, no.
Okay,
That's okay.
all right, so,
Yeah,
Killing it.
So are
Yeah.
you a yes vote?
yeah,
To
Okay.
move the evidence
Okay.
into the record.
yeah.
By the way, it's 7 o'clock in Seattle.
I know. I just
In the
checked my
morning?
clock. I just checked my clock.
all right, as with the previous item, I'll now invite those wishing to speak in favor of the application to address the commission. Okay, seeing none, I ask for any of those wishing to speak against the application are now invited to speak. All right, seeing none, I will now see if the applicant wishes to speak, have any statements? Nothing? Okay, any closing statements from staff? Okay. Any closing statements from the applicant? Nothing? Closing statements, yeah, I'm getting there too. So at this time, I'm going to close the public hearing for this item. Is there any discussion amongst the commission? Okay. All right, so I will now call for a motion to either approve or deny the application for special exception from Jeffrey Lamago, Morrison Associates LLC, from 1198 Pasadena Avenue South, South Pasadena, Florida 33707.
A motion to approve.
Second.
Okay, is there any discussion?
And just so I'm clear for the record, that includes all the conditions
All,
provided.
Yes.
and all conditions?
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you. All right, please call the vote.
Reed,
Yes.
Nidinger,
Yes.
Thomas,
Yes.
Thompson,
No.
Penny.
Yes. All right, item number 3, consideration for an application for special exception. At this time, I'll open the public hearing and ask the city attorney to introduce item 3.
City Commission, acting as the Planning and Zoning Board, considered the application for special exception from Gulfport Marina LLC for 6810 Gulfport Boulevard, South Pasadena, Florida 33707. After review of the evidence and public comment, they have recommended approval of the application for special exception, and that approval did include an additional condition. This hearing of the City Commission is held to consider the recommendation and further evidence or testimony from interested parties to either approve or deny the application. And as we did in the previous hearing, I would ask for, unless there is any objection from the applicant, a motion for you to take all the evidence and testimony that was produced during your hearing as the Planning and Zoning Board into the record of this hearing.
Yes, I make that motion, whatever that is.
Any discussion?
Yeah.
All in, gonna call a vote?
Nightinger,
Yes.
Thomas,
Yes.
Thompson. Yes. Reed.
Yes.
Benny.
Yes. So as with the previous items, I will now invite those wishing to speak in favor of the applicant to address the commission. Okay, seeing none.
Here she comes.
Oh, speaking in favor, okay.
I am. I just want to commend you for, oh, I'm sorry.
So sorry.
I'm sorry, Marge Laurent, Corey Way South, for adopting the Clean Marinas portion of your plan. I had actually run all kinds of things off to give to you to make that a suggestion. And I would just suggest at this point in time, you saw that the extreme angst. I think it would be a good thing to add as a condition that you do get it. You're gonna get it, make it a condition, and it is a renewable thing every 5 years. So I would like to suggest that you make it a condition of the permit, because if MarineMax should perhaps not be the owner of the marina in some future time, we'd like to still have that program be in effect. It is voluntary.
Right.
So if it's not a part of the conditions, then, you know, the next owner could choose not to. And then there goes our protection. So that's all I wanted to suggest.
Wouldn't that be part of the permit?
Well, you can make it a condition of the special exception if the applicant would agree to include that as part of the special exception. It is not part of the permit that I understand it from what I've heard today, because it's a voluntary program. But the only thing I want to say, though, I'm a little reluctant to have it being an ongoing condition, because I think that would be incredibly hard to enforce.
Indeed.
But I do feel comfortable from a legal perspective that at least the getting of it would be appropriate. So I'd like to hear from the applicant whether or not they would have a problem with that portion of the condition.
So, Mr. Mayor and Commissioners, again, Brian Ongst on behalf of the applicant. This is a voluntary program. We are doing it. We expect to get certified in September. I think there's only one last box we have to check. There's a comment, we're responding to it. We don't know what that program is going to look like in 5 years, 10 years, 20 years. I personally am uncomfortable adding conditions after we just went through a 4-hour hearing. I mean, I didn't expect there to be any new conditions. So if you feel real strongly about saying you got to get it for this one time, we can live with that. But, I mean, after all this tonight, I feel like all the conditions should have been addressed earlier. Thank you.
Yeah, I don't know if I'd want to make it into perpetuity, just at least for the conditions of this
Yeah.
now, for the first 5 years. So, if that's, you agree to that? And
That's fine.
Yeah.
I'm comfortable that and I agree, having an ongoing condition like that, I think could be very problematic.
Well, but they brought it up, so let's
But-
just say they're going to do
but
it.
if you're willing to just go ahead and add that you're going to obtain it, then we can just add that as part of it.
We saying they have to obtain that before the pumps can go in, be functional? What are we talking about?
Before CO.
Yeah, okay. Okay. So now, is there anyone that wishes to speak against the application? All right. Hearing none, we now see if the applicant wants to speak on any type of rebuttal. Okay, any closing statements from staff? Nothing? Okay. Nothing further from the applicant, I assume then, at all? All right. Yeah, so at this time, I'm going to close the public hearing for this item. Is there any discussion amongst the commission? Okay. All right. So I'm going to call now for a motion to either approve or deny the application for special exception from Gulfport Marina LLC for 6810 Gulfport Boulevard South, South Pasadena, Florida 33707.
I make a motion.
I'll second.
Is there any discussion?
Nope.
Who was it?
Give it to Gail.
Okay.
Okay. I only have one little thing I'd like to say before we move forward. This is basically just, I wish you guys would change your address to South Pasadena, Florida.
Here, here.
It says St. Petersburg on everything, and it just drives me nuts.
It drives me
But
crazy too.
that's just I wish you would. Okay. Uh, All right, so let's call the vote, please.
Thomas,
Yes.
Thompson,
Yes.
Reed,
Yes.
Reidinger,
Yes.
Penny.
Yes. All right,
We're ready to go.
okay.
Yeah, they have to wait till we.
Thank you, thank you. You guys have a good evening. All right, public hearing, item number 4, ordinance number 2023-02, and I'll ask our city attorney to read the ordinance by title.
Ordinance number 2023-02, an ordinance of the City of South Pasadena, Florida, amending ordinance 2022-02, the Commission's fiscal budget 2022-2023 to reflect financing terms in conformity with the Capital Improvement Revenue Bond Series 2023 and the estimated fire station construction and land purchase costs and contracted costs on resurfacing and reclaimed water, transmission main replacement, providing for an effective date. This is second and final reading.
Okay, so at this time, I will open the public hearing for ordinance number 2023-02. Is there any public comment? Seeing none. See no further comment. I close the public hearing and entertain a motion to pass and adopt ordinance number 2023-02. At the final reading. There a second?
I second it.
Okay. Any discussion?
No.
All right, call the vote, please.
Thompson,
There's only 3 more pages of stuff.
Yes.
Reidinger,
Yes.
Thomas,
Yes.
Penny.
Yes. Item 5, approval of the commission meeting minutes for the month of May 2023.
I make a motion, we approve that.
I second it.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? None, motion passes. All right, item number 6. I'll ask the city attorney to read the motion.
This is a motion to authorize Mayor Penny to execute amendment to traffic signal maintenance and compensation agreement with the Florida Department of Transportation.
All right, do I have a motion and a second?
I make a motion.
A second.
All right, any questions, discussion? No? Hearing none, please call the vote.
Reed,
Yes.
Reidinger,
Yes.
Thomas,
Yes.
Thompson,
Yes.
Penny.
Yes. Item number 7.
So motion to, I'm sorry, I just went right
No,
for it.
please go right ahead and read.
This is a sorry. This is a motion to authorize Mayor Penny to execute emergency medical services program field internship agreement with St. Petersburg College.
Do I have a motion and a second?
I motion to
I second
authorize
it.
Penny.
All right, I'm assuming no discussion?
None.
None.
Call the vote, please.
Go on.
Reidinger,
Who, me? Yes.
Reidinger,
Yes.
Thomas,
Yes.
Thompson,
Yes.
Reed.
Yes.
Penny.
Yes. Item number 8, ordinance number 2023-03. Please read the title.
An ordinance of the City of South Pasadena, Florida, amending the city's comprehensive plan, conservation element, recreation and open space element, intergovernmental coordination element, and capital improvement element, adding a property rights element, eliminating Exhibit A, existing land use map, renumbering and updating Exhibit B, coastal high hazard area map, renumbering and updating Exhibit C, future land use map, pursuant to the City of South Pasadena Evaluation and Appraisal Review, EAR, under the procedures established in Section 163, 3184, Sub 2 and Sub 4, Florida statutes, providing authority, providing purpose and intent, providing for adoption of amendments to certain elements of the comprehensive plan, providing for severability, repealing all ordinances in conflict, and providing for an effective date. This is first reading.
Did Chief Mixon write this?
Louis Cerner wrote that.
Yes.
Louis Cerner wrote that.
And,
Having a little nap.
They both got long sentences.
yeah, there's a lot to amend. A lot of these are procedural Florida statutes. And I think if there's going to be more discussion on this, they can give a further presentation at second reading.
Okay. So, do I have a motion and a second to pass?
Motion.
Second.
I don't care.
Okay,
Pick whoever you want.
we're gonna go to you two, because that's what I'm.
All right, this is only first reading, so if you guys need more information, you can get it. So we have a motion and a second. Any discussion now on the item? All right, call the vote, please.
Thomas?
Here, yes.
Thompson? Reed?
I mean, yes.
Yes.
Penny?
Yes.
Have a
Done?
meeting. We are done.
That's it?
Guess what?
So he says that.
Adjourned.
Good.
I'll be sitting